Today we're going to learn how to remove and replace the transfer belt blade. First thing we want to do is open up the front cover of the machine, and again I should probably mention that this is a Toshiba eStudio machine. So the first thing we're going to do is unlatch the developer units. So first we have to flip the paddle to the vertical position, and then really all we have to do is take out the yellow drum unit, and we're just going to set that aside. And the transfer belt blade is actually behind this little plastic panel here, and it's held on by one screw right through this hole. And once you take that screw out, that panel comes right out. Okay, so as you can see, I have the panel taken off, and the blade is this black piece here with this blue handle. Okay, now to get this out, sometimes it can catch on a few things in there, so I'm actually going to take out the yellow toner cartridge as well, just to give me a little bit more access. And whenever you take out toner, always make sure you turn it upside down, because toner can fall out of this little slot right there. So this blue handle, if you pull straight out, you'll probably get to right about there, and it's going to stop on you. Okay, what you can do is, if you look at this little white latch here, if you kind of just push that down just a tiny bit, it kind of releases the remainder of the blade. Now this blade, as you can see, there's an auger in it. You don't want to turn this over or let it fall over, because there is some excess toner in there and you don't want to make a mess. And so that's how you get it out. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Getting it back in is a much more difficult situation. So what I need to do is first get a light, because that's going to help me position this in place when I go to do it. But first I want to show you how this actually connects to the transfer belt. So I have an extra transfer belt here. I'm going to get that out, and I'm going to show you how these connect. Okay, so this is a transfer belt, and I have it positioned actually the same way that it would be positioned in the machine. Now these belts are kind of difficult to get out, and to change the transfer belt blade, you don't actually need to take the belt out, but the purposes for this is I wanted to show you actually how the blade and the belt work together. So on this front corner here, you can see this little white latch, and that's actually the latch I just showed you a little while ago. And that kind of goes down and up and pushes these paddles out. And just be careful, because those can break. So what actually happens is, if you look on the front and you see that little tiny hole at the end of the blade, that actually lines up with this little button here at the end of the belt. Okay? And then furthermore, on the front of the blade, you have this little button there, and that actually has to line up with this black little C-clamp here. And now those two things have to happen at the exact same time as you slide the blade in. Okay? And this is why it's kind of a tricky operation, because you're doing this in these little compartments that are very dark, kind of difficult to see what's going on. So that's why I say you should always have a light. All right, so we have this pin in the upward position, and what I'm going to do, again, keeping the blue handle practically vertical, I'm going to slide this in. When I get right about all the way in, there's this little black tab on the side of the blade that's going to hit the metal frame of the machine. So when I get to that point, I'm just going to tilt it slightly to the left and just get it right behind there. So now if you look all the way to the back, you can see that I'm trying to line up that hole at the end of the blade with that little button on the back of the machine. Now at the same time, remember, I have to get the front plastic pin in that C-clamp. And what I like to do is first get the back button in place, And then what you can do is just slightly slide it back outward and then get the front plastic pin into the C-clamp, and that sits it in there really nice. We got this in, and we're going to put the front plate on. Held on just like that, and put one screw right in there. Then we're going to put the drums in, put the toners in, and we're going to give it a test.